Major changes or not in the launch of the new Scrum Guide.
Hi, in this video I'm gonna discuss with you, show you some major change in the launch of the new Scrum Guide. Last Thursday, November 18, we had the launch of the new version of the Scrum Guide presented by the authors Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland themselves. And in this occasion, we also celebrate the 25th anniversary of the creation of Scrum. I must be honest with you, I was expecting much more robust changes to the guide. But I was also not disappointed with this new version. For those that are already used to working with the Scrum framework, I would say that the changes were not so radical, but they were important changes and that will facilitate the understanding and the adoption of Scrum. So let's take a look on the main changes for this new version of the Scrum Guide. The first thing that it's clear to understand, to see in the new version, is that the authors have tried to make it very clear that Scrum is a framework and not a methodology. So this version have a very less prescriptive approach. The purpose of the guide is to provide a minimum of information and rules to be implemented and complemented with other practices. So an example of this change is that the new guide eliminates the 3 questions that usually we make in the Scrum meeting, daily Scrum meeting. What you did, what I'm gonna do, and there are some obstacles in my path. So this was eliminated. In fact, these 3 questions were never mandatory. They were actually examples of questions that could be asked in the daily meeting, and which come with to be considered a strict rule in the implementation of Scrum. So making Scrum Guide less prescriptive is an attempt to follow the full adoption of Scrum and leave the possibility to complement the project execution with other practices that you need according to your context. The second thing that have changed is now the Scrum Guide talk about a unique team to deliver the product. So we only have the Scrum team. We don't have the development team anymore. So before these 2 definitions, Scrum team and Scrum and development team, sometimes create some confusion in the mind of the beginners, but now it's only the Scrum team. So the Scrum team is the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, and the developers. Everyone else except the Scrum Master and the Product Owner we call now developers. The third point is the introduction of the product goal concept. So this is the biggest novelty in this version, the introduction this artifact, the definition of product goal. The idea is that the team have a better long vision in terms of objectives, strategic objectives with the delivery of the product. So the product goal, it's aligned with all your product backlog, which gives us the next change, that really this commitment with the Scrum artifacts. So the idea is that the product backlog is aligned with the product goal, the sprint backlog is aligned with the sprint goal, and the increment is aligned with the definition of done. So these 3 elements, commitments and artifacts, are totally aligned. Another point is that now we changed the concept that a team should be self-organized. Now we say that the team should be self-managed. And this is a point that for me will create some confusion and some discussion about what it really means self-managed. Okay? So the Scrum team must have authority to be able to choose what they will work on, how they will work, and who they will work with. So this we need really to be careful when we teach, when we coach our teams to be self-managed. Okay? The idea is that you still keep your team reduced to maximum 10 people, including the Scrum Master and the Product Owner. But if you need more resources in your project, you're going to split your team in two, but the Product Owner keeps working with both of these teams. The next point is simplification of language. This Scrum guide becomes much more easy to read, to understand. We reduced from 18 pages, about 18 pages, to 13 pages now. So it's much more simple to read, to understand. So the idea is really that the Scrum guide does not give you all the information, but enough information to start working with Scrum. So this is very important. And if you want to know more about this change in the Scrum guide, you can go to my blog here in the comments, and I'm gonna describe more in detail about these changes. Enjoy your new guide and adopt Scrum. Have a good project.